So I graduated from SC about 3 years ago, and I'd actually been in music. I was actually I was at the record label with Wiz Khalifa, Mac Miller, and my parents wanted me to go down the road of law school, and I took the LSAT. I was just like, all right, this isn't. After kind of going through it, it was about like 7 months. I was just like, this is not the path for me. And I'd always known that like television and film was just a real big passion for me. It was something that I kind of entered into like during college. And once there, I actually was able to meet Tom, and he was actually the one who brought me on. And there was just this environment of someone who would be willing to mentor you on a real individual level, and I hadn't really gotten that, even just from interviewing at different places. I was just like, this is somewhere I'd be able to grow. I'd be able to really understand the business from a real integral standpoint, because Tom, I know Val didn't go into like the details of all this
That's like
long
that big.
resume, but I mean, he's represented Al Pacino, Don Scardino, Raquel Welch, a bunch of just big name people, and just the wealth of information that can be gathered from Tom. Just from sitting, whether it's in the morning or late at night, and we're just talking through clients, I felt like that was just an advantageous opportunity for me to, be able to learn from that side. So that's kind of really what got me into the industry and got me, really charged up and really passionate about that. And ultimately, I just want to put talented people in a place where they can succeed, and that's really just where my passion lies.
So how I got into the industry was I took a job at what became Creative Artists, which was the CAA of its day, and I see them today, not quite up to par, but still there. I hope there's no from ICM. I shouldn't have said that, but there is from CNA. But I was on vacation from another company, from the Rand Corporation in Santa Monica, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to visit studios for my 2 weeks instead of going to Mexico? So that's what I was doing. And the second day, I saw a very attractive woman come in, and I knew she was meeting with. I knew he never signed anybody, and I thought, I'm just going to kind of hang around and see what happens with this. She's so beautiful, he probably will. But she came out, and she was very, because I was popping in and out of the mailroom, I was in the mailroom, and she was very disconcerted. I could tell she was very upset. And so she got in the elevator, and I popped in the elevator, and she started crying. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, he didn't like me. Well, not everyone has to like you guys. They have to believe in you. So he didn't like me. He's not taking me on. And I just thought he would, And I said, well, you're lovely. Don't worry about it. You're really good. I knew of a series. This is my second day, but I looked at stuff. When I went out to the studios, which is what I did. I had someone else delivering the mail. But when I looked at the stuff, I looked at what was going on, and I knew there was a role that was a real reach, because it was a lead in a major series, but she was perfect for it. So I said, well, I'm just in the mailroom. Why don't you give me your picture? I've run into people, blah, blah, blah. So she calmed down. She was fine, whatever. And I drove right out to Columbia. The guy that had rejected her had been head of talent for Columbia. I drove right out to Columbia and said to the receptionist, is there any way we can get this girl in on this role? He sort of looked at me like I was an idiot. Incidentally, he's Mick Jagger's manager today. And he said, well, let me see her picture. He said, oh my God. She was in the series. She got the lead in the series within a week. And I was out of the mailroom a week and a half later.
No, I watched Barney when I was a kid, and I said to my mom, I want to be that. I want to be on that show. And she was like, what are you talking about? What is this bug you have? And I wanted to be an actor, and went on to go to performing arts high school, went to college for acting. But I always had a business sense about the industry. I was the girl that when I went to Disney World, I would speak to the characters and I'd be like, are you okay in there? Are you? Like, I asked Cinderella how I could get her job. Just kind of that type of stuff. I was always like, I always like knew it was an industry. I always knew it was a business. And so I decided that I was always fascinated by the audition process and how things happened and why they rejected certain people. And I always wanted to know what was going on behind the table. So I just kind of, after college, realized that I really wanted to be behind the table, and now I know exactly what they're thinking, which is kind of crazy.
Well, I'm Kay, and I'm an actress, and as a lot of you probably, I started in the business in school plays and had in mind this is what I wanted to do. But like Amanda, I've always had kind of a sense about the business. And one of the things I would say about myself is that I would never have been a starving actor, because it's more important for me to feel successful and like I'm actually doing something instead of feeling sad and unpicked. One of the things I think is really interesting for actors, and it's very hard when you're just starting to have this kind of self-knowledge, but to try and figure out why you want to be an actor. Because most of the time when I'm doing things like this, I'll say, why do you want to be an actor? And actors usually say, oh, I just have to. But it's not enough of a reason. I didn't really have the self-knowledge when I started, but I realize now that the needs that I was filling in myself when I became an actor was to get a family, because you make such a family when you're in a project, to be chosen and to be visible, because I grew up, as many of us have, feeling invisible. And so these are things that can be filled in other kinds of work if you have in mind, if you know what your needs are that you need to be filled. But as I said, I've always needed more than anything else to be successful. And I started out, in Texas, where I came from. I did some work. I did commercials. I did a lot of things. I had 3 children. I got married. I taught school. I got divorced. I went to New York on my own when I was 30, which was way too old, with 3 kids, with no child support, with no anything. And I did not starve. But when you're in that situation, you really have to come up with something. And I did go out and treat it like a 9-to-5 job every day. And that's how I got in the business.
For myself personally, I started in high school when I was in the cafeteria, and I was not allowed to sit with the popular kids, and I was sitting with the non-popular kids, if you will. It's okay. It's okay. That was a long time ago. James is here for me. So I had this older friend he had a brother who was 21, and when these popular kids were trying to find alcohol, I just happened to let it slide that I might be able to hook them up. So they started just being a little bit nicer to me, and one of those days they even let me sit with them. It's like, this is kind of cool. So I extrapolated that and realized maybe I can move to Hollywood, become an agent, and then I can just hang out with all the cool popular kids all the time. So that's essentially how I'm here today. So you can see. Yeah.
I am so glad that we're sitting next to you.
Thank you.
Because I want to be near the popular guy.
Yeah, well, I'm not quite there yet, but thank you.